Hello everyone, welcome to GoTarryn TV. I'm Dr. T, PhD, the prodigy of sports psychology, here welcoming one of my favorite guests right back on today's show, Ms. Kisa Raye of KR Stretch. Now before Kisa rejoins us here on today's show, I'd like to ask everyone out there, if you please be so kind as to like this video, leave us a comment, and share it with all of your friends and family out there. And as you've seen Kisa on here before, she is a wonderful guest. She's going to be joining us via audio podcast on the telephone here momentarily, and I can't wait because it's been a while. I haven't chatted with her this year, in fact, and been able to see how everything's going in her world since last time I spoke with her. And just going to check in to see how business is, how her stretch therapy business is going, and how everything's emerging now that we're hopefully getting out of this whole crazy pandemic and moving forward. And she's one of the most positive, influential people that I know, and I love talking to her. And every time we chat, the half hour just flies by really quickly, which I'm guessing it's probably going to do here momentarily. So get ready for a fast-paced, awesome episode with this wonderful guest of KR Stretch, Kisa Raye. And remember, with GoTarryn Health and Fitness, it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. Back in a second. KR Stretch. Kisa, how are you doing out there today?
I am great. How are you, Taryn?
Very good, thank you. And it's so great to hear your voice. This is the first time we're chatting since, the midst of COVID, since I talked to you last year. So I guess the first question right out of the gate is, what's been going on with you, and how have you been managing since now we're kind of emerging out of hopefully the end of this whole pandemic?
Yeah, that is a big question, right? I guess I could take you back several months, but I'll start with present. Present, pretty good. Business is back.
Great.
To say, I think within the bodywork community, I'll speak for what I experienced and observed. The bodywork community, which would be your manual therapists of any sort, massage therapists, walfers, anybody that does hand work on people, including the stretch community. I can't speak for the studios and the boutique concepts, but the actual individuals. We were led pretty carefully through how to manage, I guess would be the right word, COVID. Okay. And what that meant is we tried to be as careful as we could with the space that what I was working in. I work within a private massage business. We all have treatment rooms in the past. Some of us shared our rooms. There might be two of us that did part-time work in there because a lot of body workers have many jobs, just like personal trainers. They work at different facilities. Sometimes they work within hospitals. And so one of the first things we did is we all decided we wanted our own treatment room. We did not want to have a room where we wouldn't be aware of what else was going on. Meaning, I knew every person that walked into my room. I could clean my room. I could get my room as quote unquote safe. And I knew everything that was going on within the space of where I was, bringing people in, my clients in. So. We have them still mask up when they walk through the waiting room. We don't have people wait in our waiting room. We have actually a house in Athens.
Oh, okay.
That's been, it's actually a house within the 5 Points area of Athens, and that is commercial space at this point. So, you walk in, and that would have been conceivably maybe an old living room, and then there's rooms off of that waiting room. And so what we've decided to do is keep the front door locked. People don't sit in the waiting room anymore. They sit in their cars. They text us when they're in the parking lot. And then we meet them at the door, and we just escort them straight to either to the bathroom if they, need to do that first, or straight to our room. And that way we can, I think there's a sense of control over of just what's coming in and out. And we haven't had we've had no COVID, none. I haven't had a client who suddenly had to say, oops, came and saw you, just found out I was exposed and now have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I started back to work in July, and I've just, slowly, piece by piece, my client book or my appointment book has grown back to pretty much what was before COVID. I haven't had a lot of the drop off that I had, and I'm curious to hear if you have experienced that with your personal training clients. The drop off that I had was I did do home clients as well. And I just suddenly said, for everybody's peace of mind, I'm not going to come in and out of people's houses. I didn't really, quite honestly, want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been actually a blessing, because I'm not driving hither, thither, and yon to, try to get to everybody.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. What a difference since you and I last spoke. Because, when we did last speak, that's when I think you were kind of just taking off and just cutting back, for a bit until it kind of cleared up. So I'm really happy. It sounds like it's fully cleared up, just about almost back to 100% capacity, would you say? And
what's interesting for me, and I guess this is probably, I have talked to, let me back up for a second. I have talked to other stretch therapists within the fascial stretch community that have done the same exact training. We have our own network, so to speak, across the United States. And, other, like the Canadians, for instance, the fascial stretch therapy community within Canada has a lot more restrictions. They haven't been able to work like we have, which, is a bummer. I do understand policies and all of that, and so I'm very respectful of that, and I think they are too. Canada runs differently in a lot of ways anyway.
Yeah.
But just hearing that they've all been trying to make a living, and they can't unless they're doing it under the dark of night, so to speak. But within Atlanta, there have been some other fascial stretch therapists that I know that haven't rebounded. And that's again, some of the things that I kind of think well, is this where we as community health advocates, so to speak, whether it's personal trainers to fascial stretch therapists to anything that is in the wellness space, where we professionally might need to start networking a little bit, or just having lunches with people to brainstorm what's different. Because I do think it's different out there. I mean, I didn't have, my client base is interesting. I don't have a ton of clients that have big health issues, which immunocompromised issues. My massage therapist friends, they do a lot of treatments in that space, where this is health management or body management of, something that, some health condition that a lot of their clients. So if they're immunocompromised, do you think those people are coming in to get any kind of treatment? Absolutely not. They're probably not walking into gyms. They might now. I mean, again, we're talking about, a different phase within all of this with vaccinations, et cetera. But I do think what I have reached in and talked to some people, just kind of sharing, sharing experiences and trying to figure it out, what will be different. And I think maybe my age and my experience, and not just being in the fitness space, I used to be in the business space, in the marketing space. And so I do naturally analyze things, and we're all naive to not think that things are going to be slightly different. I mean, we're starting to see, but, consumer behaviors have changed. There are going to be some people that suddenly realize, I'm really curious to hear your experience, but, that suddenly they were going to a gym and then they couldn't go to a gym. So they figured out how to do it at home, and, oh, wow, they like that. And I have had a little bit of people who just probably financially took a hit last year, and this was an extra thing that they could do, and right now they really can't afford to do the extra self-care. And I'm not gonna, I don't blame them for that. And sometimes I'll literally say, well, why don't you come once a month and maybe we can figure out a stretch routine that you can do on your own. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, did I answer your question?
No, yeah, you did. You know, in what you said, actually, you're right. I think there's a lot of similarities. As you know, with personal training history and background, it is a luxury line item in many people's, I guess, viewpoints. And yeah, I mean, overall, you know, I definitely saw that a lot of people changed their habits. As you mentioned, you know, when fitness centers closed down, for example, here in Atlanta, that gave a great excuse for people who didn't need to come to the gym. And certainly since they've reopened, every gym that I'm at, you don't have that full 100% return, you know, ratio. It's similar. I think a good analogy, and I guess I would like to ask you that, Kisa, up there in Athens. Here in Atlanta, a lot of people who have telecommuted or virtually worked, for example, are not wanting to go back to the office. And I keep hearing that a lot. And personally and selfishly, I hope that stays that way because of just traffic, because I do travel a lot. And I don't know, I mean, is it that way up there as well? Are you finding that it's not back to 100% everybody going back to the office, or am I wrong? Is it getting busier now with traffic?
That's a good question. We have a pretty diverse community over here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is we've got a huge student population because of UGA. But I can say that, you know, and the other thing that we have, you know, just ratio of self-employed entrepreneurs, small business owners, and that's the other thing. But I have, so I'm not around a ton. A lot of my clients are small business owners and successful small business owners. As much as I think conceptually we think small business owners are, you know, somebody that owns, you know, something and has a couple employees. Now I have small business owners that own larger companies, and this is actually, they live in Athens. Now, to your point about remote working, so I haven't bumped into, personally, if I am going to speak to the conversations of my clients, most of them, you know, they're the head of the company, and their office or their corporate headquarters or whatever is here in Athens. But to your point, many of them, you know, close their offices and allow their employees to work from home. And they are trying to figure that piece out. You know, they're trying to figure out the convenience. Now, I will share, without getting too much into my, you know, my daughter's experiences, but I have 20-year-old daughters, older, on their own, post college and doing life. And one of my daughters lives in Atlanta, and she's been remote since May. And she, and anyway, she's in the event planning conferencing space, and she works in the operations part and event planning within the company that is an event planning conference space, whatever. That's a longer conversation that doesn't need to be had. But she is a social person. And I remember all the way through the summer, you know, her just kind of saying, this is weird. And she had roommates, and it was an apartment, and, you know, everybody was not necessarily locked down. One of her roommates is a nurse. And so, you know, they had all of that, but she has grown to like the conveniences of remote work. And they have started phasing back into an office space where, you know, now she's adjusting. She's trying to adjust back to, like you said, commuting, getting on the road. She's in her mid-20s, and I think all of this was jarring for that generation. Socially, I think it was a little jarring. She's health and wellness and fitness aware, and, you know, she took a moment, you know, where she, you know, came over here and stayed here and worked remote with me, and then she went back to her apartment, and she kind of moved around just, I think, for mental health. But she was one that I watched try to figure out how she was going to do exercise without being guided, like not being in Orange Theory Fitness or one of the other fitness concepts. She did a lot more walking, and she's still trying to figure it out. You know, she's still, they're a little less fearful and a little more fearless, just because I think it's their age. So she's been out and about a little bit more in Atlanta than I would say my generation, you know, where that sort of thing. But Athens, has been a little bit, I don't want to say more open, but I do know that I would say the 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, that maybe I do have clients in that age range. And if they were members of gyms, they have found trainers that are training them in facilities that still have very specific guidelines. Mm-hmm. They are not going to the gyms that are wide open and there isn't any safety protocols. And there's a gym or two, which I'm not going to name, that haven't been as, I think, thoughtful with it. Mm-hmm. They really serve the student population. And I'm not bashing the kids, but the students have just been, they just haven't been as concerned. And so, we are in this college town where businesses make money off of college students. So it's been a little bit interesting just to watch how all of it's been managed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting, too. We haven't even gone into the political divisiveness on everything, as far as vaccines, masks, and everything else. I take it, did it kind of, get impacted in that regard up there as well, or not necessarily?
Oh, Taryn, a lot of things I'd rather talk to you. I'll talk to you privately about. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole too far. This is what I will say about what I observed, mm-hmm. and there were lines drawn in the sand, for sure.
Sure.
I decided that, as much as I have an opinion, mm-hmm. And it wasn't based on my decision of like, I've got to play the middle ground and, to protect my business. It was just, I decided that, and it's kind of the way I've decided to raise my kids. I'm like, we will have respect. We will have respect. We will honor somebody else's opinion. And, and so that's what I have done within my business. I have decided that if there is, uncomfortable feelings about the way I'm managing my room, my business, then I want it to be a safe space for the person who says, I'm immunocompromised. Can you please tell me for sure that nobody's coming through here with COVID and you're just not poo-pooing and just saying things to say things to me to placate me and make me feel okay, but you're not really walking this walk. So, mm-hmm. Only recently have I said, to every single person, for a while there, I was masking up. They were masking up. They were walking through. When I say for a while, up until maybe 2 weeks ago, we still walk through the treatment room or through the waiting room with our masks on. Once we get into the space, I still have my mask on. And I have said to every client, all my clients are vaccinated. I didn't say they had to be. Mm-hmm. They just all decided to be. And I have said to them, you are welcome to stay in your mask or take your mask off, whatever you want. They know that I wipe down everything, air out everything. There's plenty of space and time between my clients. I've decided that's still important for a while. We don't get into the semantics. I am fairly certain where people lie, even if they've gotten vaccinated, mm-hmm. where their political, opinions lie and mm-hmm. beliefs lie. I just decided, I'm like, I've got strong opinions as well. And it doesn't mean that we can't, I call it, again, we've talked about this, playing in the sandbox together. We got to learn how to do that. So at this point, every single time I come into the room, I just ask the question. You can leave your mask on and take it off, whatever you feel comfortable with. And sometimes they'll say to me, and you can take yours off too. And I'll either say, no, I'm good, or but I just think, again, we just have to get back to some civility and some respect and realize that, you and I can live on the same corner in the same neighborhood and try to agree to disagree and also try to learn from each other. If we haven't learned that, then how are we going to raise our kids to do that? Mm-hmm. The generation behind us,
Very well said, Kisa. Yeah, you're right. I think us as not only a state of Georgia, but a whole country can certainly take that advice and hopefully, go forth with it and kind of work together, because you're right. I think here I can just speak to what I've seen in my own experience. It seems pretty divisive in the last year and a half, I would say, and really certainly people, like you said earlier, drawing that line in the sand, are very, very polarizing on each end, and it does seem like it's challenging to kind of unify those two sides, both politically, socio-cultural, or everything that we're talking about here. There's just different opinions of whether or not people feel like they should either do those protocols we talked about, or don't need to. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, what's interesting, when I first got back, when I was first starting to work with was July, and, I decided to do some work. I have, again, I just am trying to be so respectful of my own daughter's lives. But I have a daughter who lives in New York City, and she's in the entertainment acting space. So she's got a very diverse community of friends and people she works with, and she's passionate about, and so I just, again, let's learn from our young people as well. And let's not just sit here and think that we've got all the answers and our experiences, we're going to just throw them down and put them down, to the younger generations. And, she's, in her late 20s, and she's lived in New York for 5 years, and I listened to her. I just, some of the things she said, she just hears the hearts of her friends. And I mean, if I say that, then the person who receives that might go, oh, well, what does she mean by that? And, is she talking about the gay community? Is she talking about the people of color? I'm talking about all of it. So, what I mean by that is, they were talking right after May. They were talking. She was still here at home, and they were talking. She wanted to learn. She wanted to understand their hearts, and it's a beautiful community. And and I keep saying to her and my other daughter and all the other young people that I mentor, I said, I don't have all the answers, and I said, but there's a lot of discernment. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things. And if I can learn as well, I would love to learn as well. I would love to do life better. I would love to respect people better. I would love to understand. I certainly know the only path I know is being a woman, and then being a white woman, and being a mother, and being a divorcee. I mean, I could go on and on with all the life lessons and labels and experiences that I've had. And so I can't imagine. But back into my workspace, I strongly believe that we are given experiences, and we can either learn from them, grow from them, or we just put them in the little vault. And, and so I am just always looking for the lessons. I think there were the huge lessons I think there were things that only would surface when we could pay attention, and some people just thought it was noise, in a pandemic. I don't know what the real reason we had to go through all of that is, but okay, I had time with my kids. I actually think that was a blessing for me. But then I also think there are things that are going on nationally, internationally, in humankind that just need to be fixed. And but I won't allow it to come into the sanctuary of my space. And the reason I say that is I have people of color coming into my space. I have people that have been victims to all kinds of stuff, physical and mental, things that have happened in their life. And when I'm stretching them, there's a chance that their body's going to release it all. And that's, I don't know those stories unless they want to share. And I'm not a therapist. So I'm very aware, and it's a very delicate dynamic. But what I will say is, there was just a lot of pent-up frustration and anger. There still is. I respect it. Sometimes I don't agree with it, where they sit with it. But I also walk out of that to say there's just a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of people that want to just sit, on their little island of their own little knowledge and want to circle themselves up with people who have like minds and they don't want to grow. And that's too bad. It's just too bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well said, Kisa. And as far as, I'm so happy to hear that things are back up and running, and you've got such a positive attitude and positive outlook too. I like that you leave that negativity out and don't let it affect your personal or professional life, which is very admirable. And what about, let me ask you this, the rest of the year, we're halfway through 2021. What does that look like for you, and both personally and professionally, for your life and your business too?
Good question. I wish I had I knew exactly. I've been doing a lot of, I guess, soul searching, reflection, thinking. Mm-hmm. Ideally, this is what I have felt even before COVID. I think I told you this when we talked. Mm-hmm. So in 2019, I have a couple really good friends that are in the psychotherapy space. A couple of them are also spiritual leaders as well in the Christian space. So I kind of have some friends that I consider good friends that also know my heart, know how I think. And in the fall of 2019, I said to one particular friend who's a retired psychotherapist, I said, people just need rest. Isn't that, I said, I'm feeling bodies that I just am pleading with them. Like, they're going to keep coming to me. They're going to come do massage. They're, movers and shakers within their industry. They're also doing a lot of physical training. They're training for marathons. They're coming to me, and I'm going to use this in air quotes, broken. And what I mean by that is they are the tank is empty. They're physically spent, they're spiritually spent, they're emotionally spent, and they are not even, and because they're so good at doing and succeeding, I think it's real hard. And I think there's a space in there of letting that space of nothing, like of reset, of renewal, of just allowing there to be some space. Now, everybody's different. It doesn't land well on that busy person, that successful person very well to say, here's the thing. I think we have turned active recovery into another workout. I don't know if you're hearing that or seeing that, but me, the exercise phys person, is like, that, in that certain concept, in that certain gym that says active recovery day, that's still a dang workout. That's still a workout. Your active recovery needs to be laying on your back, maybe doing some meditation, some breath work, and some gentle restorative stretch. Yeah. So anyway, pre-COVID, I'm thinking of 2020 as being a way to kind of create some sort of workshop retreat that really deals with self-care, body care, reset and restorative stretch, and stuff that I think would couple well with my one-on-one and maybe just drive this message into a larger group. Well, I talked to some gym owners that I know, and I said, y'all don't even do much of a cool down. You don't really emphasize stretch. I could probably set up camp with my table in here, and I could probably make a lot of money just because they're working overtime. And I get it. I mean, I used to be that person. I'm kind of I've kind of reformed myself out of that space, mainly because of my age. But anyway, to your point, I'm still ruminating through that, because the irony is my girlfriend who I'd had this conversation with in 2019, checked in with me when we were sheltering in place, and she just called to check in. She was just making the rounds of friends and, hey, how are you doing? Are you by yourself? Are your kids home? What are you doing? And I said, has it not fallen on you that we had this thing about people and rest and reset and restorative stuff and all? And she goes, yes, she goes, because in her practice, a lot of times she said she used to think that people just needed to give themselves more time off. And what that means is like not filling your calendar full of everything. So I'm still back at that moment where I still believe that people are hardcore charging through life. I have learned, or I'm continuing to trying to communicate differently within stretching people, because people come in with the idea and the concept of stretching being exactly what they've always experienced. And what I do, and you know this from your own experience with me, it isn't stretch in air quotes. It is more joint decompression, neurological down regulation, breath work that just kind of resets and gets your body out of that fight or flight sympathetic position that a lot of people naturally just go into when they wake up in the morning and they have a big to-do list and they have a job and they have responsibilities. So I'm hoping, you know, people have told me that I've always been, my gifting is education and teaching. And so I'm just reflecting, praying through that. If I could do 50% one-on-one table work and 50% of something in the space of getting and reaching more athletes. I've worked with some high school teams this last year. That was interesting through, you know, when our schools over here, that's one thing I'll tell you. The county that I'm in the county outside of Athens. The county that I'm in is Oconee County, and it's a smaller county. And the kids went to school from August through the end of the year. There wasn't a break. They, you know, that was an option. The kids could, every 9-week grading period, they could either come into the school system and be present, or the parents could pull them out, but they had to stay within the school system every grading period. So I dealt with high school varsity soccer players at one of the high schools. And we managed with masks, and I did recovery work, you know, guided them through stretching and stuff. And I wasn't physically touching them, but I was guiding them through, you know, recovery work between their games. And that's the piece that I'd like to move into again, because I'd rather touch or reach more people than my one-on-ones.
Good. Perfect. Well, that's great. It sounds like you've got your goals set then, Kisa. I'm impressed. And this 30 minutes flew by very fast with you, like it always does. And I appreciate your time. But before we let you go, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and please let everyone know how they could reach you or learn more about hooking up with you on stretch therapy, please?
Absolutely. So I have a website, super easy. It's my name. So it's www.kisa, K-I-S-A, Raye, R-A-Y-E, all lowercase.com. So on there is a phone number, a form box that you can fill out, but the best way you can do is get that phone number and send me a text, and then we can have a conversation, and that's where we'll leave it.
Perfect. Well, I enjoyed our conversation today and being able to catch up with you, Kisa. Again, I'm so happy that things are going so well for you. And again, you're, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I like your attitude and your outlook. You've just got such a positive perspective. So if everyone else in the world can kind of get back on that kind of, positive outlook, then hopefully we'll have a better place out there to live in. So keep being you, and keep being so positive and upbeat. And let's do this again next month if you're available. I really do enjoy catching up with you.
I would love that, Taryn. Thanks for the time with you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Kisa. And as we fade to black for everyone, we're going to put Kisa's information up one more time. And Kisa, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And again, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Absolutely. You do the same.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.